Shavua Tov, everybody. Welcome to another week of top stories right here on the Israel Brief, brought to you by Leah of the Land and hosted by me, Rolene Marks. We do this every Monday to Thursday, bringing you those top stories making headlines here in Israel. And stay tuned, because I will tell you a little later in this broadcast where you can find us. But let's take a look at those top stories. And Israel's Foreign Minister Yair Lapid issued a warning to Israelis who are in Turkey at the moment to return home with immediate effect. He also called on Israelis planning to travel to Turkey, please not to do so. Now, it has been discovered or reported that intelligence reports have plotted or have found out Iranian plots to either kidnap or murder Israeli citizens in Turkey. Israeli authorities worked in conjunction with Turkish authorities. And the foreign minister has said that this is a real and immediate danger. Meanwhile, US President Biden has announced that he will be visiting Israel as well as the Palestinian Authority on the 14th and 15th of July. The US President is then expected to fly to Saudi Arabia on the 15th and 16th of July as well. Now, this is the first time since the President took office that he will be visiting the Middle East. And according to officials in Washington, this is to reset relations in the Middle East. The president and his administration have come under a little bit of criticism lately for the estranged ties with the Saudi Arabians, and also a lot of criticism from the Palestinian Authority for their not opening a consulate in East Jerusalem. In order to do this, the Americans would need the Israeli approval in order to open up a consulate, and this has left relations a little bit tense between the US administration and the Palestinian Authority. Meanwhile, it has been reported by Haaretz that Israel refused a US-sponsored summit to take place with Palestinian leadership. Israel's reasons are pretty much that at the moment we are maintaining the status quo because we don't see any viable candidate that we can negotiate with on the other side. Last week, I brought you the story that Norway made the decision that they will be labeling goods from the West Bank and from the Golan Heights as goods from occupied Israeli territory. Now, this, of course, has resulted in some angry words from our foreign ministry, who condemned this decision, saying that it is counterproductive to peace, but it can also seriously harm bilateral ties between our two countries. Israel and Jews around the world see any kind of labeling like this as really taking us back to the darkest times in our history, where we have been singled out and othered and forced to face a lot of discrimination and persecution. Meanwhile, the Norwegians have defended their decision, saying that it is the right of Norwegian consumers to have or to make the decision where they want to buy their goods, and for them to know that goods are either from Israel or from what they see as the occupied territory. So stay tuned for this story, because I'm sure there will be a lot of following up action. And our final story takes us to this stage, and indie New York rockers called Big Thief, who were scheduled to play in Israel, have cancelled their visit, saying that they have spoken and engaged with BDS. And one of the band members' parents let be known to the media that band members were in fact threatened. Now, that is not unusual for BDS to use all kinds of threats for artists that are scheduled to either involve Israelis or to play in Israel. But we thought that an indie rocker group would have bigger cojones, if you get what I'm trying to say. But hey, I haven't heard of them, so who knows, maybe we're not missing out on much. But I tell you who did wow audiences over the last couple of days was renowned global tenor Andrea Bocelli. The Italian tenor wowed Israelis when he took to the stage and then went to visit the Wailing Wall, or the Kotel, the very next day. He apparently told former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu backstage that if he could live anywhere in the world outside of Tuscany, it would be in Israel. So, Mr. Bocelli, we are waiting here with open arms anytime you decide that you want to come and live here. And it's a message to Big Thief. Big global acts play in Israel or perform in Israel. We've just had Maroon 5, we've just had the extraordinary Andrea Bocelli, and we look forward to welcoming 50 Cent, Deep Purple, One Republic, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Justin Bieber, and a whole host of other big global acts. I know, Big Thief who? And this brings us to the end of this broadcast. But don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. We are also on Facebook at Lottel Site, and our community is growing. So if you haven't joined us, please go there, give us a like, a follow, and a share. Our YouTube channel is at The Israel Brief. If you're watching us there, please click on that red subscribe button so that we can get narrative from Israel that you won't hear in the mainstream media out to as many people as possible. And of course, we're on Twitter at Lay of the Land 5. So that brings me to the end of the Monday edition of The Israel Brief. Thank you for watching. I'm Rolene Marks, and I'll see you again tomorrow for those big stories.